So you've decided to move to Navarre, Florida, and you're thinking, what next? What do I do now? So I'm going to give you 5 steps to make your life so much easier, to make this next chapter of your life, moving to Navarre, a breeze. What's up everybody, it's Kristen Weller. I am with the Iremonger group and this is Life in Navarre. So this video is going to be a little different than most because I'm going to give you kind of like a step-by-step guide. So get your notepads out, get a pen, get ready to take some notes because like I said, it's going to be kind of a here's what to do for a checklist item if you're a list person like I am. So we're going to have 5 actionable items plus a bonus one, so get ready. Okay, step 1. So this one's going to seem a little bit like, I knew this, Kristen. I know where I'm going. We did this on purpose, but plan for the weather. So obviously we have summer like 80% of the year. Okay, that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but you get it. Keep your shorts, keep your tank tops, keep your flip-flops. You need those things. But here's the part where everybody just goes wild and says, especially my northerners, when they're coming down here, I'm getting rid of all my hats and my scarves and my coats and my big fluffy sweaters. Don't do that. And I'm going to give you, I know this is going to seem weird, but I'm going to give you a ton of reasons why. But first, here is my big tip for all the summer things. So you're moving to a beachy area. Even if you don't go to the beach very often, you're going to need a lot of sunscreen. So one big money-saving tip that I'm going to give you is buy those sun shirts. So you know what I'm talking about, like they're those long sleeve, kind of like that mock turtleneck thing where it's only like, you know, an inch or so big around your neck, but they cover your torso area and your arms. Now, I know they're not cute, I know they're not, you know, trendy or anything like that, but it has built-in SPF in it, as long as, here's another little trick, you're not supposed to dry them in a dryer. A lot of them that'll say on the care tag, you can wash them like delicate cycle or whatever, no fabric softener, but you're actually supposed to air dry them, so keep that in mind. But they have the SPF built into them, so you're saving money on all the sunscreen. You still have to put on your face and your legs and all that good stuff, but it tremendously helps. Now, here's where the tip comes in. So for my northern friends or my Midwestern friends, anyone that's coming from usually like anywhere you get 4 seasons, right? So you're gonna start looking at those clearance racks, and this is why. Your beach season, your beach wear is usually only out for like a couple of weeks, maybe 3 at most. Then it immediately gets to the clearance racks and they bring the fall stuff out. Well, down here, we have bathing suit section in our stores all year round, so they never really get to that clearance section. And those swim shirts, they're kind of expensive. So here's my tip to you. Before you move, go take a look on those clearance racks and buy your kids a couple sizes, you know, in advance to bring them down here. Because like I said, it is so much easier sticking your kiddos or your husband or whoever, you know, yourself, whatever, in those swim shirts, and you're gonna save money on sunscreen and you're not gonna get burned. A lot of people think that they're just kind of like, you have to buy like more fitted size so they're not really baggy, and that's when they, you know, stay on you, and when you're swimming around in the Gulf or in the pool or whatever, they're good. But trust me, go look at those clearance racks before you move down, because our stuff doesn't go on clearance. Another thing to keep in mind that a lot of people actually get rid of is your raincoats. Don't get rid of those, and don't get rid of your umbrellas. You know, it rains all year round, obviously, but you definitely need to keep those. We have umbrellas in each of our cars. We put them in the kids' backpacks, like all this stuff, so don't get rid of those either. You need them when you're here. Okay, now back to the winter stuff. So hear me out. In the winter time here, of course, it is not nearly as cold as it is in Illinois or northern New York or, you know, Montana or whatever. It does not really snow here. Although it can snow, it just doesn't. But you want those warmer clothes, because what we like to do down here is we'll get a fire pit going, or, you know, one of those fire tables or whatever, and we'll gather around that and, you know, get some s'mores going for the kids and some drinks or whatnot. But it can get cold in the evening, and when you're sitting there with, you know, just a fleece on and some jeans, it gets cold. So hear me out. You want to keep at least a couple of those things. No, you don't need your parka that's, you know, negative 50 degrees capable, whatever. But definitely keep a couple coats, keep some hats, keep some gloves, keep some scarves. Also, because a lot of people, like for like Thanksgiving or Christmas, they like to go up to northern Georgia or Tennessee in the mountains, and it does get cold there. And if you've gotten rid of all of your winter stuff and you travel up there, trust me when I tell you, you're gonna kick yourself in the butt, because now you don't have those things. Ask me how I know. So the other thing on this is for our families with kiddos, our schools tend to like keeping the schools a little bit colder to kind of ward off the germ bacteria growth and stuff like that. So like I know my kids, it is May, it is the last week of school, and my kids are still going to school in jeans and hoodies because the classrooms are cold. So kind of keep that in mind, you know, especially if they're going to be walking to the bus or things like that, they still need warmer coats. Typically hoodies and fleece jackets, things like that are really all you need. But if you've got a kiddo that is maybe just more prone to being cold, keep a couple winter coats for them. There's still kiddos out there that y'all see them walking around in the wintertime that have hats and gloves and stuff. So, you know, I wouldn't get rid of everything, let's put it that way. So I hope you're finding this information helpful so far. If you are, I would love for you to give me a thumbs up, subscribe to this channel, and remember to hit that bell so that you get notified anytime I drop a new video about Navarre, the surrounding areas, so you can learn more about us. But for now, let's keep going with our 5 steps to making your move to Navarre easier. And don't forget, I'm going to be sneaking in a bonus one here. Okay, step 2. Now this one, I'm sure you're going to, again, be like, Kristen, duh, I know where I want to live, but figure out where you want to live in Navarre. So I kind of, in my head, I always think of Navarre as like 3 sections. So you have East Navarre, which is 87 on east to Mary Esther. You've got kind of like Middle Navarre, which is basically from 87 to Holly by the Sea. And then you have West Navarre, which is Holly by the Sea on through Gulf Breeze. Now, the reason why I say kind of figure out where you want to live, it all depends on why you're moving here. So if you're moving here because you're on military orders and you're going to be stationed at Hurlburt Field, a lot of my people that are in that boat, they like to stay east of 87 because it's a little bit closer. You've got one less, you know, well, I guess a couple less lights now to kind of navigate through for commute times and things like that. But, you know, they kind of like to stay in that area. My middle section of Navarre, so I'm saying basically kind of around the Publix area. So Andorra is one of the main streets there. People that like to live there, typically it's because you can shoot up 87 to get to 10 really fast, kind of in the middle, so you're still easy to get to Hurlburt. If you want to go to Pensacola, you're still easy access there, but that's kind of where all the stuff is. So you're probably the closest to the bridge to go over to Navarre. You've got a lot of grocery stores there, restaurants, shopping, things like that. So it's kind of like the hub, if you will. I mean, it's not, but it's kind of where most of the stuff is. And then my West Navarre people, you usually get bigger lots out that way, especially in Holly by the Sea. And then if you like being closer to Pensacola, you're obviously closer because you're farther west. But then also for my dual or like split household families where somebody might be at NAS Pensacola in the Navy, or they might be at Hurlburt in the Air Force, that Western Navarre to Gulf Breeze area is a really happy medium for those families. So things to keep in mind too is that the farther east you go towards Mary Esther, you're going to be a little bit more higher priced. Not necessarily for sales, like if you're purchasing, it'd be a little bit more expensive because it's a little bit more desirable, but more so if you're thinking about renting here, the rental, you know, single family detached homes that are for rent are a lot more pricier that way, simply because it's more desirable, because you do have our military families that are only here for a few years, so they can turn those things really quickly, so kind of keep that in mind too. But it's just kind of funny, so everyone kind of has their little area where they like, and if you don't know anything about Navarre, or you don't really know kind of where you want to be close to, just something to figure out and think about and kind of know before you come down here. Okay, so step 3. This is mainly for my families with kiddos. So we have a lot of options for schooling in Navarre. We've got public schools, we've got private schools. There's a really big homeschool community here as well. And then there's always Florida Virtual, which is a pretty highly regarded online curriculum as far as state curriculums go. So you've got a lot of options. But one thing to consider for if you like going the private school route, we do have a few Christian-based ones, but we do have a Latin-based, it's Latin Academy school. So you've got, you know, if you like the private school kind of idea, obviously there's a couple other ones in Fort Walton or Mary Esther, things like that. But for Navarre, we do, like I said, have some Christian ones and then the Latin Academy. Another little kind of like side FYI note to make for our public school kiddos. So our schools are kind of divided up a little bit strangely. I've never seen it done like this, where you've got your K first and second, so our kindergartners first and second is in primary school. Then 3rd, 4th, and 5th is an intermediate school, and then 6th, 7th, 8th is middle, and then 9th and above is high school. So there's 4 different kind of schools. And within that, for Santa Rosa County, but specifically for Holly by the Sea, or for Navarre, our schools all share buses. So we've got the Holly Navarre schools, so there's the primary, intermediate, and middle school. And then you've got the West Navarre schools, and again, primary, intermediate, and a middle school there. All those kiddos go to Navarre High School, and there's also an East Bay High School, or East Bay School, which is K through 8. So there's kind of now 3 school districts, if you will, but it's not really a school district because everything falls under Santa Rosa County. I'm not trying to confuse you, but just kind of stay with me here. So kind of thinking about where you're going back to where you're going to be living. So step 2, if you don't like waking up super early, live close to the schools, because we used to live in East Navarre and our kiddos went to the same school as they go to now. We had to wake up almost 45 minutes earlier than we do now just for my kids to catch the bus because it was so far east, and the schools that they went to were kind of in that middle Navarre section. So things to think about. And again, like I said, we've got a ton of options for schools. Another cool little bonus tip, this is not the bonus tip, but another bonus tip for step 3 is that in Florida, we have what's called VPK. So for my kiddos that are not quite eligible to go to kindergarten, so mostly my 4-year-olds, there is VPK. So it is a free preschool for 4 hours a day, Monday through Friday. There's a couple that do have programs at actual public schools, but most of them are going to be in our daycares. And there's a couple that also have private schools. Some of the churches also have VPK programs, but it is a free program that Florida provides. If your kiddo goes to daycare, a really cool thing is that you just pay for the bumper care. So from, say, if you drop them off at 7 and VPK doesn't start till 9, you pay for those 2 hours, and then you pay for the 12 o'clock on till when you pick them up. So it's kind of nice because you get a little bit of you get a 4-hour or however many hours break in your pay, and they get actual preschool. Okay, step 4. Now, this one is a biggie in my book. If you can pick when you move, so if you're not dictated by your job or by the military as to when you have to move, trust me when I tell you, do not move in the summertime. Now, hear me out. Obviously, you want to try to move if you've got kids when school's out, because it's just the easiest transition to start at the beginning of the next year and you're good to go. But here's why. So summertime, obviously it's hot, it's hot, it's hot. If you're moving yourself, you're gonna be sweating, you're gonna hate life, it's hot. If you get the point, it's hot. So if you can manage it, moving in the colder months, if you're moving yourself, obviously it's gonna be so much easier. But the other thing to think about during our summer months, so if you're waiting when the kids get out of school, and that's when you're going to move. It's also our busiest tourist season, so roads are going to be a lot more congested. If you need to stay in a hotel before your stuff gets down here, it's not going to be inexpensive. Even Airbnbs are going to be filled up, those kinds of things. So those are some things to think about. And that's also the beginning of our hurricane season. So we haven't had a big storm, knock on wood, in a very long time, but just something else to keep in mind, it starts June 1st, so if you're moving down here in the summer months, just keep an eye on the weather to make sure you're not coming down when everybody else is fleeing if there's a storm coming. Also, another tip for as far as when you're moving, typically in the winter months, it's actually a little bit cheaper if you are using movers to help out, so something else to consider. Okay, step 5, find a real estate professional that you can trust. Yes, you probably figured this was going to be in here because I'm sure you figured it out by now that I am a real estate agent, but hear me out. It is, whether you're going to rent, whether you're going to buy, it's always a good thing to start with, because if it is a full-time real estate professional like myself, I know the area, and I can help you to figure out what area from step 2, what area that would most fit you. If you wanted to rent something, I can kind of let you know, here's kind of a roundabout price of what you're going to pay for what you're looking for, and especially if you want to purchase something, I can obviously help you with that as well. But it's always good to have that person that you can trust, that knows the area and can kind of help guide you through those things. But like I said, since I am a real estate professional, all my information is going to be popping up here if you do want to reach out, if you do need help, or if you just kind of want to have some suggestions and shoot some questions off me or things like that. I am here for you. All of my information is here. Feel free to call, email, text, or find me on social media, and I'd be happy to help. Okay, it is bonus time. Bonus. So here we are. My bonus tip for when you're getting ready to move into an area is this. Figure out how you're going to get plugged into the community. And then I don't mean necessarily volunteering or, finding your people right away, although that's what it'll lead to, I've heard it from a lot of people. They've lived here for 2 or 3 years. They were going to wait till they got settled to meet people and all that stuff. And then settling happens. Life happens, they started work, their kids are back at school, all the stuff is going on, and they never make friends here. I think that is unfortunate, obviously, but it's so easy to get into that rut where if you just took the time right away, and let's be honest, it's very easy to start and like start unpacking, get all the stuff done so that you've got your space and you're ready to go. But like I said, you kind of get into that rut, and if you would just like take a break from unpacking, go to the beach. There's live music on the beach. There's ways to get involved, volunteering. We've got animal shelters, hospitals, the schools. They always need help, even during the summer. If you go to church, that's a really good way of getting connected in your community really fast and finding like your people. But there's the Mardi Gras parade that's in February. There's Christmas parades as well, and all kinds of different organizations. There's a Chamber of Commerce that you can kind of reach out to and kind of see. If you're in a business yourself, you can get plugged in that way, or if you want to do some volunteer opportunities, you can go that route as well. But there's a lot of ways, and just looking at the Santa Rosa calendar of events, or your church calendar or school calendar or whatever it is, to kind of get plugged in, find your people, so that when you are settled, you can have people over, you can have get-togethers, you can meet people out on the beach, and if you're moving here during the summertime, which a lot of us are, then your kids can also get to know other kiddos that they're going to be going to school with and already have that friendly face in a classroom full of people they don't know yet. So it's really easy to, like I said, kind of do the thing, get settled, get undone. And a lot of us military folks especially, that's what we used to do. We got moved in, we got our boxes, we went room by room unpacking, and a month into it, we're unpacked, but we haven't met anybody. So I always try to put it out there, try to, break that cycle, if you will, and start plugging yourself into the community, because we all moved down here because we love the beach. If that's the first thing you do, go do that. Talk to people that are around you with their blanket setups and whatever. Like I said, there's live music on Navarre Beach every weekend, and it's kind of fun. Like people start dancing around or whatever, but even if it's just sitting there listening to the music in the evening with the cool breeze going, you're bound to meet people eventually. So that's my bonus tip. Just kind of plug yourself in before you think you're actually ready to do it. And it'll make your time down here that much more special and enjoyable. So that's it for the 5 steps on how to make your move down here so much more easier and a little bit less stress-free. If you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to reach out or put them below in the comments. I'd be happy to help. And if you have any extra tips on things that you think would help people, make their transition down here a lot easier, that's not like the typical, find a mover, like, all the typical stuff you can Google, feel free to put those in the comments too, because everybody is always looking for some help. Until next time, I'm Kristen, and this is Life in Navarre.